My uncle's lawyer handed me the envelope containing documentation for $3.2 million in assets. Before I could even process what I was holding, my phone started ringing. My mother, then my brother, then my sister, then cousins I hadn't spoken to in 15 years. They all wanted the same thing, and they all had the same threat: share it, or be cut off from the family forever. I sat in that lawyer's office surrounded by 40 years of family dysfunction, and I made a decision that everyone thought was insane. A decision that ended up teaching me more about wealth, family, and freedom than all that money ever could have. Let me tell you what happened when I chose myself over $3 million. If you've ever had to choose between keeping toxic people in your life or walking away with nothing, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button because this channel is about the hard choices that lead to real freedom. Like this video if you believe that some prices are too high to pay, even for family, and share in the comments about a time you chose your peace over someone else's expectations. Let's remind each other that we're worth more than what we can give. Now let me tell you about the inheritance that set me free. I need to give you some context about my family. We weren't close. We were enmeshed, which is different. Closeness is healthy. Enmeshment is suffocating. My mother is a narcissist. Clinical. Diagnosed. The whole thing. My father enabled her for 38 years until he finally left when I was 25. My older brother learned to manipulate and gaslight because that is what survival looked like in our house. My sister learned to play victim and pit people against each other. I learned to be invisible. I moved across the country at 18, built a life, became a social worker. Ironically enough, I understood dysfunctional family systems professionally because I had lived one personally. I kept minimal contact, obligatory calls on holidays, occasional visits spaced years apart. My Uncle Richard was different. My dad's brother. He'd kept his distance from my mother's side of the family, and I'd always respected him for that. We weren't close. He was single, childless, lived a quiet life in Montana. But we exchanged emails occasionally. He remembered my birthday. He was just normal kind. When he died suddenly of a heart attack at 64, I was sad. But I didn't expect anything from his estate. We weren't that close. Then the lawyer called. Uncle Richard left me everything. His house, his investments, his savings. Total value, $3.2 million. The lawyer explained. Your uncle updated his will 3 years ago. He left you a letter. I opened it with shaking hands. Sarah, if you are reading this, I am gone. I am sorry I wasn't more present in your life. I had my reasons. Mostly that I couldn't stomach watching what your mother did to you kids and feeling powerless to stop it. This money is yours. Not the family's yours. I watched you build a life on your own terms. Put yourself through school. Become someone who helps people. You are the only one who didn't turn out like them. They're going to come after you. Your mother will guilt you. Your siblings will threaten you. They'll say family shares everything, that I would have wanted them included, that you are being selfish. Don't listen. This is your chance to be free. Use it wisely. Uncle Richard sat in that office crying because Uncle Richard had seen me, really seen me. In a family where I'd been invisible my whole life, he'd noticed. The lawyer gave me 3 days before the will became public record. After that, he said, expect company. He was right. My mother called first. No, I am sorry for your loss. No, how are you doing? Just, Richard left you everything. Obviously you'll be sharing with the family. I haven't decided what I am doing yet, I said. There's nothing to decide. Family money is family money. Your brother needs help with his business. Your sister's underwater on her mortgage. I've been struggling since your father left. This money could help all of us. Uncle Richard specifically left it to me. Her voice turned ice cold. If you don't share this, you are not my daughter anymore. You'll be dead to this family? Is that what you want? I hung up. My brother called next, started with fake sympathy, moved quickly to veiled threats. It would be a shame if certain people found out about your past, he said, meaning my struggles with depression in college, my brief hospitalization things. I'd shared during a vulnerable moment that he'd apparently saved as ammunition. My sister called, crying. I am going to lose my house. I have kids, Sarah. You'd let your niece and nephew be homeless. What kind of aunt are you? Then the extended family, cousins I barely knew. Aunts and uncles who'd never called before. All with reasons why they deserved a piece of Uncle Richard's estate. The messages got nastier, more threatening. Social media posts about my greed. Voicemails calling me names I won't repeat here. And through it all, I kept hearing Uncle Richard's words, "This is your chance to be free." I sat with my therapist. Thank God for my therapist. And I laid it all out. What do you want to do? She asked. I want to tell them all to go to hell, I said. But I also want to keep my family, or at least the idea of my family, even though I know they're toxic, even though I know they've never really loved me, they've just tolerated me, even though I know Uncle Richard is right. So, you are considering giving them the money. Part of me thinks maybe if I help them, they'll finally see me, finally appreciate me, finally love me the way I've always wanted them to. My therapist looked at me with so much compassion. Sarah, you've been trying to earn their love for 38 years. Has it ever worked? I started crying because no, it had never worked. What would happen if you chose yourself? She asked gently. They'd disown me. And what would you lose? I thought about that. Really thought about it. What would I actually lose? Obligatory holiday calls where my mother criticized everything about my life. Brothers who only contacted me when they needed something. A sister who'd never once asked how I was doing. Extended family who'd never been there for birthdays, graduations, or the hard moments when I actually needed support. Nothing, I whispered. I'd lose nothing, because I never really had them. I made a plan, not to burn the money. Uncle Richard had worked too hard for that, and frankly, the symbolism wasn't worth the waste. But something almost as dramatic. I set up a family meeting, told everyone I'd made a decision about the inheritance and wanted to announce it in person. They all came. Of course they did. 27 family members crowded into a community center meeting room I'd rented, everyone expecting their piece of the pie. My mother sat front and center, already smiling like she'd won. I stood up, hands shaking, heart pounding. Thank you all for coming, I said. I know you are here because you want to know what I am doing with Uncle Richard's inheritance, so I am going to tell you. The room went silent. I am not giving any of you a single dollar. Chaos shouting. My mother stood up, face red. You selfish, ungrateful. I am not finished, I said, louder than I'd ever spoken to these people in my life. Uncle Richard left me this money because he saw something in me that none of you ever did. He saw that I built a life without you, that I became someone decent, despite growing up in a family that taught me manipulation, cruelty, and emotional blackmail were normal. How dare you? My brother started. I dare because I am finally free, I interrupted. You've spent 2 weeks threatening me, insulting me, trying to guilt and coerce me into giving you money. Not one of you asked how I was grieving. Not one of you acknowledged that I lost someone I cared about. You just saw dollar signs. My sister was crying. What about my kids? Your kids are not my responsibility, I said. And it felt like breathing for the first time in years. Your mortgage is not my responsibility. Your failed business is not my responsibility. Your retirement is not my responsibility. Your choices are not my responsibility. If you do this, you are dead to us, my mother hissed. I know, I said, and I am choosing that. I am choosing to be dead to people who never really saw me as alive. I am choosing freedom over family that was never really family at all. I walked out of that meeting room, and I never looked back. Here is what I did with the money. First, I paid off my own student loans, $30,000 that had been hanging over me for 15 years. Gone. Second, I set up a trust fund for my education, went back to school for my master's degree in trauma therapy, specializing in family systems, paid for entirely. No debt. Third, I bought a small house, nothing fancy, But mine, truly mine, first home I'd ever owned. Fourth, and this is the important part, I started a non-profit, the Sarah Richards Foundation for Family Freedom, named after myself and Uncle Richard. We provide financial assistance and therapeutic support for people trying to leave toxic family systems. We help with security deposits for people fleeing abusive homes. We pay for therapy. We offer grants for education. We provide legal support for people seeking restraining orders or navigating family court. Everything my family would have spent on themselves, I spent on people who actually needed help breaking free. We've helped 247 people in 3 years. Single mothers escaping abuse. Young adults kicked out for being LGBTQ. Adult children of narcissists trying to rebuild. People choosing themselves over families that never chose them. Every single one of them gets a letter, similar to Uncle Richard's letter to me. This is your chance to be free. Use it wisely. 6 months after I walked out of that meeting, I got a letter from my father. He'd heard what happened. My mother had told everyone, her version anyway, painting me as the villain. But my father reached out. Sarah, your mother called me to complain about what you did. She expected sympathy. But all I could think was good for you. I am proud of you. I should have done what you did 30 years ago. I should have chosen freedom. Instead, I stayed, and I let your childhood be what it was. I'll always be sorry for that. If you are open to it, I'd like to get to know the person you've become. No expectations, no demands. Just a father who wants to know his daughter. Dad, we met for coffee. It was awkward at first. 30 years of damage doesn't heal over one latte. But we talked, really talked. He told me about his own childhood, his own struggles with standing up to toxic people. I told him about my work, my foundation, my life. 3 years later, we have dinner twice a month. He volunteers at the foundation. He is in therapy working on his own patterns. We're building something real, not the forced obligation of family, but genuine connection. He is not the only one. My father's sister, Aunt Linda, reached out. She'd been estranged from the family for years. My mother had poisoned that relationship too. She and I are close now. She comes to foundation events. We go hiking together. I've built a chosen family, my therapist, my colleagues at work, the board members of my foundation, Aunt Linda, my dad, the woman who runs the coffee shop near my house and remembers my order. These people see me, support me, celebrate me, and they don't require me to set myself on fire to keep them warm. Last month, one of our foundation recipients, a young woman named Maya, who'd fled an abusive family, came to speak at our annual fundraiser. She stood at the podium and she said, Sarah gave me $5,000 for my first apartment and 6 months of therapy. But that is not what changed my life. What changed my life was the letter. The one that said this was my chance to be free. She looked directly at me. No one had ever given me permission to choose myself before. My whole life, I'd been told that family is everything. That you sacrifice for family, that leaving makes you selfish and ungrateful. But Sarah's letter said, you deserve freedom, and that changed everything. I ugly cried through her entire speech because that is what Uncle Richard gave me. Not money, permission. Permission to choose myself, permission to walk away, permission to build something better. And now I get to give that same permission to others. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I miss my family, if I wish I'd tried harder to make it work. And here is my honest answer. I miss the family I wished I had. I miss the mother I wanted, the siblings I deserved, the warm, supportive, loving family I see in movies and read about in books. But I don't miss the family I actually had. The manipulation, the conditional love that was never really love at all. I grieve for the fantasy. But I celebrate the reality that I am free, that I built a life on my own terms, that I turned Uncle Richard's gift into something that helps other people find their own freedom. $3.2 million. I could have kept it all, done nothing, and been miserable trying to prove myself to people who would never see me. Instead, I used it to build a life where I am seen, valued, and free. And I helped 247 other people do the same. That is worth more than any amount of money. Here's what I learned. You can't buy love from people who aren't capable of giving it. You can't earn acceptance from people who need you to stay small so they can feel big. You can't fix toxic family dynamics by sacrificing yourself on their altar. But you can choose freedom. You can choose yourself. You can choose to build something better. Uncle Richard didn't just leave me money. He left me permission to walk away. And that permission, that validation that leaving was okay, that choosing myself was right, that was the real inheritance. The money was just the tool that made it possible. If you are in a toxic family system right now, hear me. You deserve freedom. You deserve peace. You deserve relationships that don't require you to shrink, perform, or sacrifice your mental health. And if leaving costs you the relationship, then the relationship was already costing you too much. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more stories about choosing yourself over toxic expectations. But here is what I really need to hear. If you've ever had to choose between family and freedom, share your story in the comments. You are not alone. There are so many of us who've had to make this impossible choice. Let's remind each other that we made the right one. Thank you for listening. And if you are standing at that crossroads right now, wondering if you should stay or go, I hope my story gives you the permission you need. Uncle Richard told me, this is your chance to be free. Use it wisely. I am telling you the same thing. The Sarah Richards Foundation is real. And if you want to learn more about our work, I'll put a link in the description. We're always looking for people who want to help others find freedom. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, you are worth more than what you can give.